don't live in an attic. I'm doing this introduction from my back garden at night in the rain, like an idiot. But here am I working on a panel in Venna's Planet, Volume 3, Special Edition. Now I'm going to get out of the rain. This is page, I'm not quite sure, page 46, 48 perhaps. Venna and Galo, otherwise known as the Countess, have been scooped up by a mysterious airship called the Ravager. Just prior to this scene, they were in a sort of a plane crash, not a plane, like a little flying machine. They were struggling over the controls and they crashed it. And Galo temporarily loses her memory. That is only indicated in here by the reference to you can bridge my lacuna later. You can bridge your own lacuna. This is from the original black and white panel, which I've added colour to, but it makes no sense when you look at it that she's holding her head. She's bleeding at the mouth because in the earlier, a few panels ago, Galo punched her in the jaw. A bit unpleasant, as she was holding a gun at the same time, but a few panels earlier than that, Venna punched Galo in the jaw and she was holding a gun as well. So I think that in this case, I think that Venna kind of got what she deserved. But it doesn't make sense that she's holding her head like that. So I'm going to move her arm down a bit later on. I always consider that these characters are like actors, but you can't expect an actor to give a good performance if she doesn't have a director who understands what the production is about. So I think that I misdirected her on the previous version of this. You can still buy this book. It's not very expensive. You can buy it on eBay or Amazon or whatever. It's called Book 3, Venna's Planet Book 3, Peril in Prime City. The new books do not have subtitles like that. It's just Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3. They're all called Special Edition. The one to look out for is called Ultra Ultra Quality, because the paper quality is better, and I've done some final edits on. It's well worth looking for those little words underneath. They're a couple of pounds more, a couple of dollars more, whatever. Go for those ones. I still think the other ones are quite good, but the ultra quality ones are about as good as they're going to get. Now there's a lot of cross hatching, which is nice in the black and white ones. I'm cutting down on a bit in the color. It gets a bit makes the picture look a bit muddled. So, and as I'm not just putting a color wash over these, which would have been so much easier, the books would have been all out by now, that have been done and finished. But I'm putting a lot more texture in them, so that does mean sometimes having to get rid of that cross hatching. Now, at this point, the work is speeding up because I speed the actual video up 3 times. So just so that we're not here for 45 minutes. I think the original take of this was 50 minutes long. We don't want 50 minutes of this. So I've cut out lots of bits of it, and the rest of it I've made go a lot faster, so we can get through it in about 9 minutes. So here we see her not holding her head, but trying to refasten the front of her tunic, which has come open. And Venna, although she's a very beautiful woman and she's not ashamed of her body or anything, sometimes she gets kind of, oh, I don't really want to show this much myself at this time. Certainly not when I'm feeling like this. You know, she's just been walloped. She's been subdued by Galo, and she's not feeling in a very expansive mood. And her instinct is to just try to pull that shut a bit, to conceal her body a bit, you know, protect herself a little bit. She's also had Galo's knee in her abdomen, so she's had a bit of a rough time with her. She did try and defend herself. It was a kind of a fair fight, but she's she isn't really that good in combat situations, and Galo did get the better of her. So she has had to admit that she has been subdued here, and she's kind of being controlled. And also Galo does have that formidable looking hand weapon there. And here I do a bit of work on her face. Her eyes in the previous version were a little bit too small. I need to make this a bit bigger, only marginally, but just to make them a bit more prominent. She's got a good profile, she's a good strong woman. And if she was on the good side, she'd be a very good person to have on the side of the good, because she's very intelligent, very formidable. Here's Venna's belt, which all those little details have to go in. I'll probably have to go over the whole thing after it's all finished and make sure that these costume details are consistent. I do think that's important, because I notice stuff like that. That shimmery thing is just where I've highlighted the areas that I'm going to be altering. So I'm putting the texture in there. That was actually like a kind of a jumpsuit, and you'll see what happened to the leg parts later. When you read the book, you'll see what happened to those. Now we're going to get some texture into her hair and into the skin. So we're putting the skin tones in just to make her look. Oops. I've used you always use the same color. I think that Venna's hair is ash blonde, so I use a kind of a beigey kind of color, and then I use the not the highlighting tool, the other one, the highlighting tool for the highlights, and there's another tool which I forget the name of to darken the other bits down. I'm not very technical. I know how to use them. I can't remember all the names for them. Mid-tone, is it mid-tones? Oh, anyway, one of those things. It's a Photoshop thing. So now we can see the tones going into her skin on her legs there. And we'll do the same with the Countess in a minute. We're seeing a bit more of the Countess than we have done before. In the accident, there was quite a lot of wardrobe. Try to get my lips together. What I call wardrobe malfunctions. And that does mean that when you have a crash, sometimes you don't get broken bones, but bits of your outfits fall away because they do. And Galo certainly isn't ashamed of her body. She's in very good shape, and she's quite happy to let the world see what's how she's been working on that and making it amazing. You can see on the upper panel there, Venna's just recovering from being walloped. She gets her hair pulled a lot in this book, and she does mention it a few times. Oh, not another hair puller. So having got the tones into the bodies, we now reverse the marquee and we do this corridor background. They're inside an airship. The airship called the Ravager, I think I mentioned that. And it's kind of like an old-fashioned airship, but it's got a few sort of unusual propulsion methods going on there, and lots of weird, creepy corridors. And the captain is I might not be giving too much away here, but because you saw him in the other panel, you see him in that right-hand panel there a little bit. And he's quite a scary customer. He spins webs all over the place, and he really isn't a nice fellow at all. Horian. I use these names a lot. I mean, I came up with the name Horian Grust about 40 years ago, and I've got a character in here called Grust, and this character called Horian. And there we are. That's the end of that bit. So thanks for watching. Oh, and there's a big bright light shining on me now. So thanks for watching that, and I hope you enjoyed it. And there'll be some more coming on later on. And I'm going to get back to work on this, otherwise it will never be finished.